Hey, what's up everyone? This is Hitesh Jetwani. Today we will do chapter number 3 from economics, and this is for the first year BCom students. In previous video we completed chapter number 2, and that was about law of demand and law of supply. In this chapter we will learn about the elasticity of demand. In this chapter we will learn the different terms as well. So let us start with the meaning. Price elasticity of demand is a measurement of the change in consumption of product in relation to change in its price. So when we learn about the demand law of demand, in that chapter we learn that when price increases, demand decreases. In the same way here, when any product, like if the price of any product gets changed, how it affects to the product. So we will learn the same. If we talk about the formula, how to find the elasticity of demand and what kind of elasticity of demand it is there. So we have one formula, that is percentage change in quantity and divided by percentage change in price. Okay, let us move on second slide. In second slide, as you can see, we will learn about the elasticity of demand, that types. The first one is relative elasticity of demand. So here, as you can see, there are the two factors. One, we have demand, and second is price. So relative elastic demand refers to the demand when the proportion change in the demand is greater than the proportion change in its price of a goods. So now, relative elasticity of demand means when the proportion or the quantity is higher, like when proportion of changes in demand, it is higher than the proportion change in price. So इन द सिंपल वे, प्राइस बहुत कम चेंज हो रही है जहाँ पे डिमांड जो है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा चेंज हो रही है, एंड दिस काइंड ऑफ इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड इज नोन एज रिलेटिव इलास्टिक डिमांड. सो that is a very simple way to memorize this. When we talk about elasticity, elasticity is totally refers when the proportion change in demand is higher than the proportion change in price. Then we have a relative inelastic. So inelastic, that is a vice versa. Like here, the proportion in price, it is higher than the proportion change in the demand. Relative inelastic demand means that there will be more change in the price of a goods or a service than its demand of that goods or services. Simple. Here in inelastic means the proportion in change of price is very high and demand gets changed very less. So that's very easy. Like in elastic, the proportion in demand is high, and in elastic the proportion in price is very high. Okay, then we have a third one. As you can see on the slide, unit elasticity of demand. Unit elastic demand refers to a demand in which any change in the price of a good leads to an equal proportion change in quantity of demand. So here unit means like if we take example, if price gets increased by 30% and 30% demand gets decreases, so here the proportion changes, like one is increasing by 30% and second is decreasing by 30%. So that kind of relation is known as unit elastic demand. Then fourth one, we have perfectly inelastic demand. So inelastic, that even that's perfectly. So here the demand won't get changed, demand will remain the same, but price will get changed, because as I told you, in inelastic the word refers the change in price. So here perfect inelastic demand means that prices of quantities are fixed and are not affected by other variables. So here the quantity, the demand is the same, but the prices are getting changed. Done. Okay, let us move on another slide. On another slide we have perfectly elastic demand. In perfectly elastic demand, you can see the prices are same, but the demand is getting changed. So elastic word refers the change in demand only. Perfectly elastic demand is when the demand for the product is entire depend on the prices of the product. Simple. So here prices are same, but the demand is getting changed continuously. Like that could be the many reasons. Like if we can take example of population as well, if population increases, the demand increases but the price remains the same. So these are the 5 types of elasticity of demand, and that's very important for your exams. Whenever you see any question about the elasticity of demand, so there are the 5 types. perfect relative elastic demand, relative inelastic demand, unit elastic demand, perfect elastic demand, and perfect inelastic demand. So these are the 5 types. Let us move on the another slide. Then we have factors that affect the price elasticity of demand. Now, as we saw, there are the different 5 types of price elasticity of demand. So now let's take a quick example that what factors actually affect on the demand, like elasticity of demand. The first one is nature of goods. So basically, now what nature of good is, like we get an example of we do have primary goods, and second we have secondary goods. Like primary goods, these are very essential for us, and secondly that's only for our entertainment or something. Like if we take example of grain, so grain is very important for us. And second, if we take example of any mobile phones or TVs, these are the secondary goods for us, so that actually affects on the elasticity of demand. Then we have luxury goods. Here luxury goods in the sense, like there are some goods which are very prestigious or precious, like we can take example of gold and property as well. So here even the price gets higher, the demand never decreases. So that is also the reason that also affects on price elasticity of demand. Then we have priority as per the budget. Now let's take an example. As we all know, we have unlimited wants, and we have unlimited wants with limited income. So now what we can do is we can just make a priority of the things which we need. So in the same way, if the things are very essential, very important, we fulfill those demand in a priority basis. So that's also the reason that actually affects on price elasticity of demand. Then we have prestige precious goods, as we already discussed about the luxurious goods. So basically these are the same. Then we have substitute goods. So now how substitute goods affect the price, let's take an example. If we take example, like we do have two-wheeler like Activa and bike as well. So as we want to buy an Activa, but as we hear that the prices of bikes are decreased, so basically we move from one product to another product. Now what many customer would think that now they would take advantage of bike because the rates are very less as compared to Activa. So even that substitute goods also plays important, and that also affects on price elasticity of demand. Then things with alternative use, like we can take one example for this as well. Let's take example of electricity. So now we cannot live without electricity, we need electricity. But now let's take example, if price gets increases, what we can do is we can just reduce the some uses of electricity. Like let's take an example, electricity has many use. It can be used to operate AC, it can be used to like switch on the lights, it can be used to switch on the fans as well. So what we can do is we can just ignore, or we can just move on to the things which are very important, like we can just avoid the AC. So here what can be done is we can save some part of energy or some part of money by doing this. So that's very common. Yeah, electricity has many alternative uses as well, so some of the uses we can just ignore it. Then we have essential services. Now essential services, like let's take an example. We have education, we have education industry, we have healthcare industry as well. So we cannot live without education. Nowadays education is very important. Or let's take an example, if person is not well, so in that case we need to take those services, we need to admit that person in the hospitals, and these are very essential services. So we never think about the price or demands on in that situation. Then we have postponement of services. So basically postponement of services means the thing which we can wait for the right time. And when we see any kind of discounts are there or any sale is going on, we can just buy at that time. So we can, for some time of period, we can just ignore it or we can postpone it. Then we have complementary commodities. So now complementary commodities are very simple. Like let's take an example, if you're buying toothpaste, you need to buy a brush as well. So here the toothbrush and brush, and the second example razor and blades, uh, then pencil, sharpener and eraser. So these are the complementary goods. So basically what happens here, if the prices are very less of main product but the complementary goods are very costly, so that also affects on elasticity of demand. Then we have price. So price is the very simple factor. Price actually affects on elasticity of demand. Then we have customary of goods. So customary of goods, what it wants to say, so that actually about the behavior of the consumer. You can also see, then we have 13 number habit as well. So if any consumer wants if any consumer or if any customer consumes any liquor, that person is habituated to have liquor or tobacco as well. So here that's very difficult to change the behavior. Like customer cannot ignore the product directly. It takes time, right? Because that person is habituated with that thing. Then we have durability of goods. So now durability means the goods which remains for the long time of period, which is long lasting. Like if you can take example of any shoes, like if you buy any shoes and that's very durable for a long term of period, you won't think about the new shoes because you already have very costly shoes. And we already discussed about 13 number habit as well, that is SMS, like customary of goods. Then we have standard of living. So now what standard of living contains? So standard of living contains food, shelter, growth, education and health. So these five things are very essential for each and everyone's life. We cannot ignore those things. So it may possible that the price get increases, we never think about the demand as well. We are always ready to pay the amount for these things because these are very important things and that can actually improve our standard of living. Then assumption of future prices. So that's very common. Like if you are engaged in the business of share market, or if you are engaged with the property business or the gold business, so if you think the price will go up in the future, so in that thing, what must have been happened, that you must have ignored that you should not buy the gold and you should not buy the properties or shares. But that's a very different situation. We are still buying these things because we have assumption that in future the prices of gold, property and shares would go up. So here that's also main important topic. Then discovery of new goods. Now how discovery of new goods plays an important role. Let's take an example. In past we had mobile phones, like those basic mobile phone, keypad for mobile phones. Now we have smartphones. Now the technology is different. Now the technology has been changed. So many of the people, they would not prefer to have that old basic phone because now the technology is different. Like let's take an example. In past we had a vehicle which you can start by kicking the vehicle, but now we have self start vehicle. So mostly people, what they prefer, self start vehicle. So that is because of technology, that is because of discovery. So these are the 16 main factors which can affect price elasticity of demand. Let's move on the next slide. Now then, the importance of price elasticity of demand. So basically the first one is international trade. So there are the five different types of elasticity of demand. By using those, or by analyzing the price elasticity of demand, you can get an idea that what you should do, that what government should do to increase or decrease import or export. So that's very helpful for any kind of business. Second, then we have formulation of government policies. Even so, as the price elasticity of demand is very helpful for any kind of entrepreneur, in the same way it is also helpful for the government as well. So government take many decisions regarding this. Then we have factor pricing. So basically price plays an important role. So you can just decide, while if you think that the demand of your product is inelastic, means you have targeted customer, and if you increase the price, it won't affect on your demand, so that you can increase the price very easily. But if you think the price elasticity of demand is elastic demand, so you need to think about pricing as well. than decision of monopolistic. So what happens here, if you think that out of those all five elasticity of demand, if your demand is inelastic, if your product has inelastic demand, so you can easily get monopolistic business because you have targeted customer and they do not worry about the prices. Then we have paradox of poverty amidst plenty. So basically, this price elasticity of demand, it also helps that how we can remove poverty from the country. So as it is very important for the international trade, it is important for the government policy. So initially, it goes in the same way, and it would help to remove the poverty as well. Then we have income elasticity of demand. So as we saw the price elasticity of demand, when the price gets changed, how demand gets changed. Here, when income gets changed, how demand gets changed. Let us read the meaning here. Income elasticity of demand refers to the sensitivity of quantity demanded for certain goods to a change in real income of consumer who buys the goods. The formula for calculating income elasticity demand percentage change in quantity of demanded divided by percentage change in income. So basically, that's a very common rule in economics. When your income increases, you increase your demands. Like we always want to improve our living standard. So basically, if your income increases, it will definitely affect on your living standard. It will definitely affect on your demand. Next slide we have what types we have in this. So first one we have positive income elasticity of demand. So here it refers to a condition in which demand for a commodity rises with the rise in consumer income and declines with the decline in a consumer income. Commodities with positive income elasticity of demand are normal goods. So here what you can see is positive income elasticity of demand. So here the same way as the proportion change in that is elastic demand. So what happens here, the proportion change in demand is higher than the proportion change in income. So like let's take an example. If your salary increased by 30%, but if you increase your demand more than 30%, if your demand gets changed 35 or 40%, that is positive income elasticity of demand. Then we have unit elastic demand. So here in unit elastic demand, the both, like if your income increased by 30% and in the same way your demand also increased by 30%, so these are the same, that is actually called unit elasticity of demand. Unit elastic demand is referred to as a demand which in change in the income of consumer leads to equally proportion change in demand. So that should be an equal, but in positive income elastic demand, the demand is higher than the income. Then next, income elastic demand more than one. So basically how it works, income elastic demand, so the same elastic demand, the proportion change in demand is higher than proportion change in price. Then we have income inelastic demand. So as you can see in this curve, the prices are increasing, or sorry, the income is increasing higher than the income, the demand increasing, so the proportion and income is higher than the demand change. So that is income in elastic demands. Now let's take one more thing. We have cross elasticity of demand, that is last but not the least. So now what cross elasticity of demand is? So we learned about elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand. When price increases or price gets changed, how it gets effect on demand. In the same way, when income increases or income decreases, how it changes on the demand. But what cross elasticity of demand is? So cross elasticity of demand means, the cross elasticity of demand is an economic concept that measures the responsiveness in the quantity demanded for one good when the prices change in another good. So that's, let me explain in the very simple way. So like let's take an example. If the prices are not getting change of tea, that's the same, but even your income is not getting change. So now what happens here, if the substitute product, like as we know the substitute product of tea is coffee, so if the prices of coffee goes down, so many of the customers, they move from tea to coffee. So in this way, so basically cross elasticity of demand affects on substitute goods. So if the prices of substitutes gets changed, the demand of main product also gets changed. So this was till now. This is the end of the chapter 3. Let me know if you have any question. Just comment below, subscribe my channel, stay safe and have a great day. Bye bye.